All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Sihle Mlambo. I am your host today, and I'm joined by Professor Prof Steyn from the University of Zululand. Good afternoon, Prof. I must say, last week when I did the introduction, I made a mistake and I said you from the University of KwaZulu-Natal instead of the University of Zululand. I think I was a bit nervous. How are you doing today, Prof?
Good afternoon, Sihle. Doing well. God is good to us all of the time. I totally understand. I'm very much involved with UKZN still, and
Mm,
I'm still chat with him, even though I'm based at Zululand.
yeah,
I'm involved with many universities
yeah. A man
across
of
the
many
globe.
talents.
Like I said earlier, I know a lot about very little. And if I can share a bit of that and learn more every day, I appreciate it. But it's good to see you, Seedline. It's good to
Thank you
see
so
you.
much, Prof. Lovely. So we're going to be unpacking the developments in the explosive SAPS saga, which is obviously a matter that is in the national discourse and current affairs at the moment. On Sunday, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced that he would be instituting a commission of inquiry to explore the allegations that were made by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, and he would be placing the minister on Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on special leave. Now, a lot's happened since Sunday. We've seen other political parties questioning the legality of this special leave, arguing that the president is exercising powers that he does not
Mm,
have. Um,
mm,
and we've also seen, as a ripple effect of the announcement on Sunday, Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya, who's the Deputy National Commissioner, also being placed on special leave by his
mm,
boss, National Commissioner
mm.
General Fani Masemola. Maybe let's start on Sunday before we get to Shadrack Sibiya. What did you make of the president's approach to this hot button issue in the country?
It was short, which I perceive as the president prepared in advance, more or less what I expected to come out of the briefing. No real surprises except that I wanted the time frame to be shorter.
Mhm.
But for such a context, I understand it's not just about investigating these serious allegations. I think the president also used the opportunity to initiate broader reforms um, through this judicial inquiry into the criminal justice system. So
Mhm.
I think we're in for the long haul on this one, with recommendations on the terms of reference going forward. So I don't think the president just thought about um, looking at the investigation and making recommendations in terms of that. I think it speaks broadly to reform, deep reform of
Mhm.
the criminal justice system, and in this instance, the police, as per se, and overall of all. But you need some clarity and reason and anchors around that. And this investigation, I do believe, um, will buttress and strengthen the overall broader reform of the criminal justice system.
Right. And obviously we also heard from the president in terms of the timelines of this particular judicial inquiry.
Mm.
He's also, by the way, appointed Justice Madlanga to head this particular inquiry. What did you make of the selection of him as the chairperson of this particular commission?
It speaks to the need to trust the judiciary, especially at the top level of a constitutional democracy and the separation of powers. The Deputy Chief Justice is retiring at the end of this month, scheduled to retire. With that kind of wisdom and avail within the context of respecting the rule of law and justice, I think it's the right decision to appoint the Deputy Chief Justice, acting Deputy Chief Justice in that position. And I hope that the team around the inquiry is supportive and follows the right process and context and so forth, so that we can get a meaningful result out of this inquiry, that we have concrete action and consequences, and not just what everyone says, a talk shop.
Yeah, and there has been quite
around the matter.
There's been quite a lot of criticism about the establishment of the commission itself, which you suppose you can understand given what's happened in the past before. I actually wrote a piece about this earlier this week, saying that, in my view, the president failed to live up to expectations, and that the commission, in my view, was the way to go. But and so being, I felt personally that the police minister should have been removed entirely as well from cabinet. But with that said, obviously now there's wrangles about the legality of placing him on special leave. What do you make of that?
I think ministers are also subject, and government is subject to the Labour Relations Act. There are processes to be followed. Same as with a minister. You have to go through a process of internal policy, and questions and veracity of claims have to be tested. So I do understand why you cannot just outright let someone go. That person has the right to respond, even if it's such a serious matter. And the substance that Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi portrayed over national television seems relatively strong. But again, I would like to see that cross-examined. I would like to see that tested. Takes two to tango.
Yeah.
To get one side of the story, another side of the story, and then the truth. And our democracy is based on exactly that.
Some people say, Prof, that yes, indeed, the Mkhwanazi allegations are far more complicated, but the easy route for him to actually pull the trigger in terms of removing the minister would have been this issue of misleading Parliament about his knowledge and non-knowledge of one of the murky figures in this whole interweb, obviously the matter of Brown Mkhotsi. In your view, was that misleading Parliament? Could that be substantial reason enough for the executive to remove a minister from office?
I would like the minister to respond to that, to see what is his defense before I make a conclusive remark. I don't know where the context of the question. I didn't listen to that portfolio committee narrative or discussion around it. But if it's an outright lie, especially under oath, to a constitutional body such as Parliament, I would be very concerned, and there would be reason to question the integrity of the minister if that is the case. But I would like to look at all the facts around it, and so forth and so on. I think there are sides of blue or shades of blue that are missing. And I think the public should know every step of the way. I would prefer the police, media, or communications department to have open question sessions every day for the duration of this matter.
Right.
And others as well, so that the public can be informed and kept informed of facts, so that we can make up our own minds and see whether there is transparency, objectivity, the political will for social justice, for restorative justice, as it may. Remember, this is a big breach of of trust
Mm-hmm.
between the public, the people of South Africa, and our police and criminal justice system. To address that, we need truth. We need transparency. We need action. We need to see what occurs. But again, our history is based on wrongdoings, apartheid and so forth, where people were not listened to, people were not considered. So our government and our people will focus on justice and principles thereof. But again, if nothing happens, I'm afraid we're in for some trouble,
Yeah.
some serious, serious conflict in the country. The people will not, the people are tired, the people are hungry for responsibility and accountability and at speed. So I hope and I assume that the president is going to allocate all necessary resources available to the state through this inquiry and investigation, and that there are no unreasonable limitations put forward in terms of this particular judicial inquiry, as a matter of fact. But let's see.
Yeah,
If that's
absolutely.
the case. I'm going to be hopeful. I'm going to be hopeful.
Earlier this week, there's a study that came out from the HSRC regarding the dwindling trust in police. Of course, we know that Professor Kachalia is coming in as the acting police minister on the 1st of August. He's got a lot of work to do, doesn't he?
He does, but he's got to be very procedural and substantive towards the process from here on. And as far as I know, Professor Ferris Kachalia is a professor of law, and his role that he played as an MEC, provincial minister in Gauteng, he seems to follow process and understands process. So I'm sure that he will do that. But in the meantime, he has got to hold the fort to what legislation requires and what the people require. It's a balance of the two. His first recognition that he has strong feelings or thoughts or perceptions around those particular matters important, meaning he is a human too. Being the head or chairing the Anti-Corruption Council is important as well, because there's a linkage between this current process and what he's done before. So, touche. Some meaningful considerations by the president on the matter. He isn't Gauteng. He knows matters there, sharp-witted and so forth. So I'm looking forward to him doing what is required of him. I'm sure that he won't be alone. But again, politicians not to interfere with operational matters of the police or any other department. Yes, it's. I would prefer independence and professionalism, not powers that be abusing that power against the people. And that is why my heart is broken. I'm very sad about it, that it's occurring. But recognizing that one is wrong is the first step to recovery. Let's see what occurs. And a lot of pain has to occur before we improve. So, as I said the last time, it's going to get worse before it gets better. We might even be shocked on a lot of issues, but it needs to be cleansed in public. And the people need to know. And then we can take it together from there. As long as the energy and innovation at large is positive to advance our unity as a country, our sovereignty, and the rule of law, I'm all for it.
Lovely.
I'm all for it.
Lovely. And of course, we also saw, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? The Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya being served with, well, being placed on special leave rather, being asked to stay at home. And he's come out in the media and he's had quite a bit to say. What's your observation of that move from the Police Commissioner General, Fani Masemola? Right decision?
Well, if there are serious allegations leveled at any person at a senior level South African police officer, and they're not even just senior anyway, there should be a procedural investigation taken. All involved should be removed from their positions whilst the investigation is ongoing. So it's the right decision for me, as long as those parties involved don't interfere with process and substance, even with the element of the public on the matter. I would prefer those involved to follow due process. But again, there are circumstances where the process or those involved with the system are not doing what they are supposed to be doing. And for the betterment of all, in certain circumstances, unique circumstances, one would use a extreme method of notifying those around. The eyes are on this process, on everyone involved. They should know how to act, especially senior officials. I don't think Commissioner General Fani Masemola was wrong on this particular instance. I think he was right. Let's see what occurs. I hope that manipulation of the public or of other organs of state does not take place, and they should be warned on that. But again, for the public good, for the people, if it matters, there are unique circumstances to inform the public, as it may, if it's negatively impacting society as a whole. That's what they would ask me to testify court of law. That's what I would say. There are certain unique circumstances when you do not trust the system, reasonably speaking, that there are alternative ways of doing it. The question is, would there be a commission of inquiry if General Mkhwanazi did not do what he did? That's another matter in and of itself. Let's see. But for now, we have smart people in South Africa. We're all watching and seeing what happens and what is going to occur. But if the healing process has started, I'm happy with that.
And what about Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi in this matter? Some argue that perhaps he should be placed on some form of special leave himself. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that a report must be obtained from General Mkhwanazi as a complainant in this matter. And then, for example, cases that have been opened or action that has been taken consequently or in advance, and that matter be investigated procedurally by SAPS internally to say, okay, was due process followed? Why wasn't it followed? Etc. Etc. Would the reasonable police officer or the reasonable general have acted in the same way? Was it justified, and so forth and so on? That's up to them to decide about his action around it. But certainly, a process should be followed to get the facts around the statement made by General Mkhwanazi, because I think it is unusual for a general or a provincial commissioner in any country or state or province of any country to make a statement like that on national television. But again, I don't think we should assume anything around it. I would ask for a full report, not claim anything or assume anything. I would just say, okay, why, what, how, when, and where, and then get responses in terms of that, consider policies and procedures, legislation, etc., and individual circumstances. I don't know. Maybe General Mkhwanazi's children were threatened. I don't know. I don't
Mm.
know all the facts
Yeah.
around the
Yeah.
matter, but that has to come to the fore to understand it. Um,
It's funny you would
as I
say
said,
that because he did actually speak about having the obligation to protect his family, and he spoke about his family living across the spread of the provinces, not just in KwaZulu-Natal. So it's quite an interesting point that you make. And also in your summation, you speak about what he did being unusual. And Professor Kachalia actually used the words that it was highly unusual
mm,
for the Lieutenant General to go about things in the manner that he did. And
mm,
his stance is that as soon as he comes into office, he's going to request some sort of a meeting to understand um, firsthand what the thinking and the approach was, which I think it's a fair way to actually come in to deal with the situation, is it not?
yeah, I think one should have a blank slate, even though one's own subjective thoughts and history and experience might impact. But in this instance, you can only act on what you have and what you see, not to have any unreasonable expectations. Respond to the facts, respond to the statements made, and so forth and so on. But um, from our perspective, a general made some very, very serious allegations about the ineptness of our criminal justice system, organized crime, and politicians and syndicates, and um, massive, massive trauma to what
Mm,
we believe our criminal justice system should be. That has got serious consequences, and we should get to the root causes of that. No, I would ask General Mkhwanazi to provide a full statement and meet in person to discuss
mm,
um, and to reflect on all these matters. But I would not allege or claim anything from General Mkhwanazi. I just want to know why this unusual behavior,
mm.
because he knows exactly what he did.
Yeah.
And I am assuming that he did not trust anyone um, within reasonable terms in the criminal justice system to do um, to follow process and substance in this matter.
Mm,
So I hope everything within reason comes out in
yeah.
this inquiry. But again, I want to re-emphasize that the longer this inquiry takes, the less informed the public is, the worse it would be the trust and respect for our criminal justice system and what has happened over the last week or so. It really has to be expeditious and swift.
Okay, and as we wrap up, Prof, we've also seen a wave of protests and marches in support of General Mkhwanazi this week. To be expected?
Yes, I think there are some people might assume that he would be targeted, correlated to his actions on national television and elsewhere. Um, one would expect that South Africans are known for voicing their concerns and what they believe in different ways and means. It's part of our national identity and our history. And in this instance,
We are a
supporting,
protesting nation.
yep, and it comes from the way that our people were treated in the past. And
Right,
I don't think that is such a bad thing as long
right.
as it's reasonable and it is not negative to the next person within relative terms
Peaceful.
and to the greater good. I say for it, all for it,
Mm,
as long as it is reasonable and so forth. No, so I'm glad that the police didn't overreact with these protests within the context of the law. No, let people raise how they feel. Let them raise how they think. There will be support on opposite sides, on different contexts and different levels within this particular matter. And we will see it shortly.
Yeah.
We're all observing and so forth. And that's what the world doesn't always understand about us as South Africans, that we say what we want to say, when we want to say it, how we want to say it. And it's unique to us. And
Yeah.
I must say, I'm particularly proud of that.
Yeah.
That we've come forward where it wasn't avail in the past.
Yeah.
So, no, I expected that. And just glad that it was peaceful.
Yeah.
It was reasonable. Well, so far, what I have seen, it was reasonable and it's peaceful. I didn't go to Durban CBD. I don't go to cities so much these days. If I can avoid it, I do. But no, let people say what they want to say. It's part of our national identity.
And as we wrap up, Prof, we also saw the president. He actually gave timelines during his speech in terms of the expectations of the chairperson of the commission to report back with preliminary reports. I think it was it 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? What did you make of that? And is that a positive step in all of this? And also this danger of this commission being a commission that goes from, oh, we thought we'd be done in 9 months, and then it goes on to for 3 years or 4 years or whatever the case may be. How do we avoid it going on a never-ending wild goose chase?
Yeah, Commission of Inquiries, comprehensive, if done well, takes time. But in our context, we have had many commissions of inquiries where people have unmet expectations. And with unmet expectations, you have frustration. And some frustrations could lead to negativity. So I would have preferred this investigation to be much shorter. That there would be should have been, maybe there is, a full commitment with additional resources on this matter to be concluded swiftly. I would have preferred, as I stated before, within a month, maximum 2 months, and so shorter than what the president indicated. But as I alluded earlier, I think this inquiry is not just about this particular investigation. It is about the reform of the criminal justice system. And the president wants to look at cracks and frameworks and so forth to take this matter further. I think it's there are going to be phases and processes around it. And with that in mind, the correct decision. But again, if there are no consequences, and it's not swift, and people are not kept informed on a daily basis, the little trust, as you indicated on the yearly survey, will be less, will be far, far, far less than what it is now. People want hope. People are praying for hope. People want to believe that that which is right will be done and that it is done swiftly. What South Africans have gone through of late is really, really hard to believe with a state that is not at war. I do understand it's not just South Africa, it's others as well. But we need some good news. We need some positiveness. We need to advance. I was listening to the presidency's budget speech a little while ago, and individual politicians attacking each other. And I thought to myself, where are the solutions? Yes, you hold people accountable, of course, and one should. But I do want to hear about solutions. I do want to hear about innovation. I do want to hear about progress. Accountability first. Yes, of course. Responsibility. But there comes a point where one must ask oneself, how much negativity and less hope as a people can we take? So no, I'm just giving a warning a warning shot across the bow that if we do not act now, I think it's the last chance that we will get.
Mm.
And I'm sad about that. And I really hope that they do take it seriously. I really hope they do. That all the resources required be given. These protests will get much worse. Much,
Mm.
much, much, much,
Yeah.
much worse. Some people talking about a coup d'etat and so forth and so on. No, I still believe in our system. I still believe in the people of South Africa, and that people will speak out and come forward on coup d'etats and military operations against our sovereign state. But again, people are losing hope very quickly. I think we reached that point now, where as a one country, as a people, we have national identity that we strive for our own success, for our own achievement, for our own advancement as a people. But again, if we don't have trust and we are not supported by the state, it turns negative.
Yeah.
And I'm inherently a very progressive person, so you won't hear me being very cynical within the context always. But I think in this instance, we've really got to be careful about it. Inform the public, stay in touch with the public, make sure that people relate. So I would prefer the president to speak to the media, to engage questions, to relate, and
Mm-hmm.
so forth. Even if it's difficult questions, even if it's things that you cannot answer,
Yeah. Trump takes
it
difficult
just
questions all the
shows
time.
a sense of accountability and response with that. I don't understand what is the case around it. Maybe the president says that communication should be doing that, but uh, let's see a little bit more of the president. Let's see a little bit more of him.
Mm-hmm.
That people don't know the president as they could or they should. In these instances, it will help response. It will help transparency. It will help with integrity for the public. Just my thought.
Yeah.
Um,
All right. Prof, thank you
around
so
that.
much again. This is all we have time for. Thank you so much.
Welcome, and you are welcome. And I hope I'm less of a celebrity, please. But it's nice to chat to you. It's nice to chat
Thank you
to
so much, Prof.
you.